this is going to be all about why people lie, right? What's the truth behind why people tell falsehoods? I'm going to first break down just generally why people lie, and then I'll get into different types of lies, right? Like lying by omission and telling white lies as well. Now, what this video isn't is a crash course on how to tell if someone is lying. So I'm not going to tell you, like, if someone looks up to the left and they blink twice, then they're lying to you, right? I'm not going to say that. Maybe they just forgot to wear their contacts that day. But what this video is going to be is a great understanding of the motives behind it, and also the motives behind, pathological lying. Firstly, people lie to gain something that they want, right? To gain a certain reward. They're going to tell a falsehood in order to gain that reward, because screw the rules, right? I mean, think about it. Some people may lie on their resumes to get a job. There are different severities of how much someone is lying, but reward is big. Next is to protect someone's feelings. A lot of times we can relate to others, right? And when someone feels pain, we feel pain as well. This is what our mirror neurons do. They help us pick up what other people are feeling. So that comes on to us. And in the self-help field, there's this thing called the law of state transference, where your state, how you're feeling right now, gets transferred to others. Others can feel your state. So someone may lie about something in order to protect someone else's feelings. But the thing that happens is, if you're lying, the lie can actually hurt their feelings even more. So that's the thing. Like, the truth, although it stings, it won't hurt as much as you telling the lie, right, in the first place, and then they find out, and then that trust is broken. So although it kind of has like a good motive to it, in the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't. Next is avoiding negative feelings of their own, right? Maybe someone doesn't want to feel bad. They don't want to feel the negative consequences of something, so they're going to tell a lie. In some instances, someone can experience negative consequences, but they don't have negative feelings about it. Other times, someone can experience negative consequences and they have negative feelings about it, and they want to avoid those feelings, so they'll tell the lie, right? Because telling the lie is easier than going through those negative emotions. People have egos, whether you know or you don't. You have an ego. I have an ego, right? Our egos are our sense of self, our identity. So when our identity gets pointed out, we do what we can to protect our identity. And what we do, defense mechanism is lying, right? So next is privacy, okay? This may fall more under white lies, but I'll just say privacy for now. Privacy, right? Like, you don't want to share everything about yourself. That's just the truth. So sometimes you might just tell a white lie about it. A degree of privacy is important. I'm always a proponent of telling your truth, but there are things about you that you just don't feel like sharing, and that's totally fine. Maybe your friend at school is like, why didn't you show up to school the other day? Oh, I just didn't feel like it. But really, like, maybe you were taking care of a sick relative, and you just don't want to talk about that right now, right? So you have that privacy kind of at play there. Next, flatter others. You heard of brown nosing. You heard of people doing what they can to get into certain circles. They'll flatter others, right? They'll compliment them in a certain way. Even if it's not true, they'll want to appease them, get that validation from that other person, because they have something to gain from it, right? Whether it's a romantic relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a business partnership, whether it's an acquaintance, whatever. Like, blowing smoke makes other people feel good, even if it's not very truthful. They gain something from that, right? Whether it's admiration back or some sort of gain from it. Next, to protect from physical harm. So if someone's in a dangerous situation, they'll lie to protect themselves because it's survival. And it makes a lot of sense, because whether you know what someone's capable of or you don't know what somebody's capable of, if you find yourself in a dangerous situation, it may be a better course of action to tell a falsehood in order to protect yourself physically. Next, to maintain previous lies. You heard it before. People lie to cover other lies, and then other lies, and other lies. That's the problem with lying, is if you lie, you have to cover that lie with another one, with another one, with another one. Next thing you know, you're forgetting your lies, right? And that's what happens. People get caught in a lie, they have to lie about that, and they get caught and they forget about that other lie they told. And it's just way easier to just tell the truth, be honest, and things like that, because you don't have to remember, like for a pop quiz. It's just your truth, and someone can wake you up at 3 a.m. in the morning and ask you that question, and you just tell the truth and you go back to sleep, right? That's the power of telling the truth. Next is status. We're status creatures, so it's very natural for us to prop ourselves up, right, in what we do in order to gain validation from the group and for the group to prop us up. This goes way far back in time. So think of back in grade school, maybe you lie about, what your parents got you, what your parents do. Maybe you lie about the vacation you took because you want that status. And it's the same thing with adults too. People may lie about their occupation, things like that, just all types of things. You never know. It's just because it's a status thing, right? The money they make, what they drive, and things like that. People want to have a good image, so they'll embellish about it. Admiration, this kind of coincides with status. People want to feel admired, so they'll tell a lie. You see this a lot with narcissistic people. They want people to view them in a certain light, so they'll do whatever they can. They'll say whatever they can. They'll dress how they can in order to portray that light to people. Next is lying for power. So this, you can also find this in narcissists to gain some sort of power, manipulating situations with lies in order to get their way. People can play victim. They can tell lies as if they're the victim in order to get people on their side. That's a power game that's played. You see this in politicians, leaders as well. They'll lie. They'll lie to also avoid scandals. This kind of goes back more so to avoiding negative consequences, but you'll find politicians and leaders, right? They'll lie about certain scandals that they're a part of, that they cause, certain money they've stolen that they want to cover up. They'll lie about that. They might threaten people that know things about them to not share that information because they don't want to get caught. Next, not to make an argument valid. This is an interesting one. So sometimes people don't want to be wrong, so what the information they say about something will be false in order for you not to get a conclusion from what's really going on. So a good example is, let's say someone isn't going to the gym even though they're supposed to, and they told their friend that they're going to go to the gym, right? Well, they're going to say that they went to the gym, but it's just maybe it's just the routine that they're doing isn't the right routine, so they say that in order for their friend not to come to the conclusion that, hey, this person isn't going to the gym, that's why they still look the way that they look. Instead, they're going to say, oh, I have been going to the gym, I just look the way that I look because my routine's a little off, so I got to adjust that and then things will be better. So that's what I mean by that. Next, to get attention. I mean, are you surprised? Some people like attention, especially some women out there, they really like attention. There are guys out there too that really like attention, and they'll do whatever they can. Whether it's a lie about their look, right? Maybe Photoshop themselves on social media, or verbally lie about the things that they've done. So yes, to get attention, that kind of coincides with admiration, but it is what it is. Kind of get more into white lies, like the little small lies that people tell. The reason why people tell white lies is to maybe avoid awkwardness. Maybe your friend invited you to a party, and this friend throws sucky parties. You're not trying to tell him that his party sucks, so you'll say, go grocery shopping that night, or there's this roller coaster I want to go to. You'll come up with something in order to avoid that awkwardness, right? So that's a little white lie you might tell. Next is, you might tell a white lie to avoid embarrassment. So for example, oh, how come you couldn't make it to X, Y, and Z event? Oh, my car broke down. But in reality, you kind of had a stomach ache and you're kind of embarrassed by that. Okay, so little white lie. Next, lying out of convenience. So this happens all the time, dude. Like, let me think back. It'd be a time like when I was younger, I would go to the basketball courts and play with my friends. On my way there's always this religious guy that would find me somehow. He wouldn't always find me, but sometimes he'd find me, and he'd come up to me, and oh my god, this dude would be reeking of sweat and just wouldn't smell that great, but he'd always want to talk to me about like the Bible. And me being, a 14-year-old boy that grew up in the church and all that, I'm just like, yeah, sure, I'll hear you out. I'm not really religious anymore, but hear him out. But as time went on, he just kept going and going and going. I'm looking at my watch and I'm like, dude, I gotta get going. So I gotta come up with some sort of excuse to get this guy away from me, right? So I tell him, I'm like, I gotta meet up my mom with something really quick. As if I'm just coming back from the basketball courts, but I'm going to the basketball courts. I just say that because I wanted to get him off my back, basically. And it was out of convenience, right? I'm trying to like save time, basically. Another thing is, people may lie out of convenience to just not have to overly explain themselves. So for example, it's like maybe you just give like a simpler version of something that's just super basic and doesn't go into detail at all, and you maybe omit a lot of details in order to just save you time. just because explaining all of it is just going to take a lot of time. The person's confused, they don't have enough context, so you're like, you know, you just tell like a white lie, kind of lying out of omission. Another thing is people lie because they actually genuinely believe it. Believe it or not, people will deceive themselves. It's a self-deception, and they genuinely believe their lies. So it's no issue for them to tell you a lie because it's their truth, right? So you really want to identify the instances where someone may be deceiving themselves, or instances where you're deceiving yourself. That way you can have that self-awareness, and then when you communicate what's going on, you can be you know, more transparent. Lastly, some people lie for pleasure, like they gain serious pleasure from lying. Like there are sociopaths out there that seriously, like they laugh in their head by how many lies they tell, and this goes into pathological lying. Some people lie pathologically for different reasons. There are people that do it for no reason, like it's just a bad habit of theirs that it's hard for them to like stop doing it. There's not really a serious motive behind it. Others, there's like genuine like happiness, pleasure from lying. Yeah, seriously. And then others, it's like pathological because they have very narcissistic traits and they want attention, and they view their pathological lying as just like, I have to do this in order to maintain my sense of self. So that's why people lie pathologically. And if you don't know already, pathological lying is just telling lies constantly, even little things, just lying about that. That's pathological lying. There's many reasons behind it. A lot of times it's just a bad habit that they've maybe picked up. And in other instances, it could coincide with the different reasons I've listed today. When it comes to lying, a lot of times most people, they want to just avoid negative feedback, right? That's like the big underlying reason why. And them trying to avoid negative feedback can create more negative feedback, or create negativity, or bring negativity to others. That's what they don't understand. But what happens is that we are very biased to ourselves. Humans are selfish. So if you understand that humans are selfish and they want to protect themselves, then you'll have a better time understanding why people tell lies to you, and why you lie, because you're not a saint, right? None of us are. But it's all about us just getting better as people, and as we get better as people, seeing how we can elevate others around us. That's what I do with these videos. So if you haven't already, like the video, subscribe. I hope you found a lot of value in this and you learned a lot of things. Have a great rest of the day, and take care.